This is the Afterburn podcast. My name is Joe Alvarado, and this is episode 9 with my friend Christi Bennett. Christi is an indoor cycling instructor at Lifetime Centennial, where I work, and she teaches power, and we talk all about power zones. Let's get into this. Christi Bennett, thank you so much for being here on this episode. I think this is I don't even want to say the number of the episode because I've recorded a few now and I'm not sure when this one is coming out, but thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
It's my honor. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We work together and so I met you over COVID when we everything closed down and then we opened back up. And then in comes Christi to one of our cycling classes over at Lifetime. So do you remember that?
I do remember that. I remember it well. We were putting bikes inside and outside and wearing the mics. And I was kind of pursuing you because I love Stages bikes and I was at another club and but the COVID and I had trained and was training another club, but I wanted to take someone's class. And like, oh, you have to take Joe's class. He does, stages and stuff at Lifetime. So I was stalking you. I don't know if you knew that, but yeah. So
I didn't know that, but I'm on it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So I heard that you were great and you did not disappoint. It was great. And it was great just to be able to do something like that during those times. Right. And to have community and it was wonderful. So, yeah.
It was a ton of fun. I talked about it on another episode, and I don't remember who I was talking with, but if you remember, you just said it. We were rolling the bikes out.
In and out.
And we would roll them from some kind of storage area. I think we had in one of the buildings or part of the building at Lifetime. Roll them out onto the turf, and then we had this whole in-ear system. It was like a low-band FM radio station that we created. That was a lot of fun. But for those who don't know you, I'm pretty sure not a whole lot of people. You've never been on this channel before, so would you introduce yourself just a little bit to everybody?
Right. So I'm Christi Bennett, and I am an avid indoor cyclist. I ride my bike outside, mountain bike maybe once a year, but I love indoor cycling. And I became certified in specifically power cycling sometime before COVID. Took some time off there, of course, for teaching and started taking classes at Lifetime and have been there ever since. And started teaching about 3 years ago there at Lifetime under your nice nagging and pushing and nudging was phenomenal. But I'm a mom of twins. I have 19-year-old twins. I have a epigenetic coaching business that actually came from this because I love data so much and what it can do for us. It literally came from just my teaching spin class and teaching power at Lifetime. So it's been amazing to me for more reasons than one, for sure.
Well, you just said of my constant nagging, and you were the one stalking me. So I don't know what that's about.
Stalking and nagging is different.
But you're right, though. Once I found out that you were certified and you had some experience, I'm like, well, we have always wanted to have a powerful power program at Lifetime, which is what we're going to get into all the data and all the information that we love to see. It was a no-brainer for me because, anytime I meet somebody who is passionate about it, who already is certified, who has some time to invest and really loves people and wants to see change, like, why would you not hire Christi Bennett? She's amazing. She's amazing.
Oh, it was awesome. I'm so happy you did it because I was like, I don't know. And because you wanted me to take over your class, which was big shoes to step into. So I appreciate you giving me the trust to do that. And it's been a blast.
It's been successful and the members love you and they have a reason to, because you're really great at what you do. And I tell you that all the time. And I feel like, and again, we'll get into a little bit more of the details here, but I feel like you and I developed a way to deliver at least the introduction and warm up in a way at Lifetime that has become kind of the standard, at least at our location and some of the other locations that we have some influence over, as far as how to get people ready, how to get them warmed up, how to get that functional threshold power test going. And I feel like, you deserve a lot of credit for the delivery methodology that you do, because it just makes
strongly in it.
Yeah. So why don't we just jump into that? Because we love talking power. Again, Roberta and I had talked about power zones before, but I mean, who could you can't get enough, right? We'll just keep
talking. I could talk power all day long.
Yeah. So why do you like teaching power zones in particular? Just tell me, what's the big bird's eye view of why you like it? Or let's start here. What is it and why do you love it?
Well, what it is the 7 zones that we use at Lifetime and with stages as well. And you, from zone 1 to zone 7, you have an opportunity to test, which we do, or what I firmly believe in, testing each class. And we do the warm up in power. In my class specifically is 3 songs. And then you take a good break. I give you a 2-minute break and I tell them to go as hard as you can for 3 minutes and hold. And that's that FTP test that we take in power. I give them a good break afterwards. And then I tell them the profile of the class. They're based off of what they just did. So in a big kind of nutshell is power and breaking it down into the 7 zones. But what I love about it is that it puts us all on the same page. Like someone's red is going to feel the same as if we all tested it correctly, right? You got to test hard. Right. But if you do, all our reds are going to feel the same. But if you look, which I'll put on the board, I just have their colors. But if you look at their watts, they would be totally different, right? But they feel that 7 or that 5, what's a red. They feel that same way. So we're all in that same zone together. I kind of refer it to golf, like a handicap. So everyone kind of in that 3 minutes gets their handicap, right? Yeah. And then we're all on the same page, and then we're all going to feel the same when I say go to a certain zone and do this and do that if we tested correctly in that 3 minutes. So that's what I love about it. It's so individualized, yet we're in the class together and feeling the burn in a 5 or in a 6 or in a 7, and then feeling the break in a 2 or a 1. We all feel that same way, but it's all different just based on what we tested. So I love it. I absolutely love it.
Well, I think you said it really perfectly when you said it's personalized or individualized, but at the same time, we're in the class together. And so yes. If for those of you who are listening and you've never trained in power zones, what Christi is describing, that 3-minute test, is what we call the FTP. It's a functional threshold power test. And again, Roberta and I talked about it. You're going to hear a lot of power on this podcast because we love teaching colors, zones, watts, and everything. And what essentially we're doing, and I like to explain it this way, and Christi, correct me where I'm wrong and tell me the way you do it, and let's just have fun with this. But it's really, it was derived from how professional athletes train in order for race day. In other words, they take this test, and a regular or a normal FTP test would be an hour. And they would take the average watts, and your watts are that combination of force and velocity that come out of the power meter that's on the left crankshaft of a bike that has the capability to measure, right? And so your power, meaning how much force you're putting on the pedals, and your velocity, how many revolutions per minute. It's taking those, interpreting it as watts. Then it's going to take that average. And again, we don't do the hour version because who has an hour? We don't have an hour. But when you take Christi's class, right? When you take Christi's class, or at least the way that we measure, you take that 3-minute version. And in order for you to get close to, or for the computer to interpret what you would potentially do in an hour, you got to work hard, right? And so you mentioned earlier, and I love what you said, and I'll let you talk a little bit here in a second because I want to hear your thoughts on this. You said you've got to work hard, and you said a few times if you took the test right, and that is really the key to it, right? Like you have to work hard. Then that computer is going to take that average, and if you take a 3-minute, it takes 20% off. And I like how you say it in your class. You say it's like a sale, Like and so it's like 20% off. And so if I were to average 300 watts, it would take basically 60 watts off of that. And then my FTP, my zone 4 out of 7, which I should realistically be able to hold for up to an hour, would be 240 watts, right?
Yes.
Am I missing anything there?
The one thing that I like to also stress in my class, and you were saying it is your resistance. So that wattage, what you're putting out is that with your RPMs, as you were saying, cadence too, but a big component is your body weight.
Okay.
And that's what I really turn off the dials on the screens when we can't. I know you do see in our classes at Lifetime, when you take the test, you see everyone's power output, which is your resistance, your speed, and your body weight. But after we do that, I like to take that off, because that's, someone who weighs, we have in class, right? Someone who weighs 90 pounds is not going to have the same output and wattage as someone who has 300. And I don't want them to feel defeated.
Yeah.
Nor do I want the 300 person to feel like, oh, I'm doing great. You're bigger. You're a bigger person as the body weight. So to me, that has a huge component. It's why I don't like to compare the numbers, because we're going to be different. And then when you said if you test right, I try to tell my class, I teach on Mondays, right? So, at St. Pat yesterday, I've had a few people come in and going, I'm here. I'm just happy to be. I'm like, I'm happy to have you do what you can, right? So when everyone's right is different on different weeks. Yeah. But that's what I love about retesting every time, because, it's a St. Patty's Day on a Sunday and come in on Monday. How you feeling? Or you might be.
What did you eat or drink yesterday, right?
Right. And green sweat all over the place today, Joe.
Yeah.
So so I don't want to tell people there's like a right and a wrong, but accurate, right? Like and if you're hungover and not feeling your right or your accurate is going to be different this Monday than it will be next Monday. But that's just, it kind of meets you where you're at, right? It meets you where you are in the moment that day. And it's your class, and it's to have fun, but it's also to push yourself. Now you're accountable. Accountable. You did 3 minutes. And I tell them at the end, if they're dying, I'm like, I didn't take the test. You did. You're like, I didn't do those numbers. You did it. So so you can't get mad at me. So
right. So I love how you explain that, because it does meet you where you're at. It does put so the two things I'm hearing you say, and I want to just reiterate it because I think it's so important. Watts generated bigger doesn't mean you're better. To your point earlier, there are bigger humans than others, and my left leg might weigh more than half your body weight. There's just so that force and velocity thing is kind of irrelevant. But when you get into a power situation where you're taking a functional threshold power, and after you take that test, regardless of if I average 300, you average 200, somebody else average 100, we all can get to every color on the wheel, right? And one of the things that I love is that, to your point, and you're explaining it so well, that's why I wanted you to be on here. It meets you where you're at. So when we say training with power zones is like training like a professional athlete, the difference, I would say this, and because I was thinking about this, although it's true, this is what they do. Professional athletes will hold themselves to that standard of whatever their threshold is and try to exceed that because they want to get better, right? And that's not to say that we don't. Right. And that's not to say that we don't want to get better. That's not to say we don't want to try to exceed what we did, the week before. But what I love that you said is that it meets you where you're at. You don't have to. So if I didn't sleep, because I'm not a professional, I'm not training for a 5-hour race. I'm not training for a 4-hour race. I'm not training to climb a mountain. And I ate a lot yesterday, what I mean? So, but I could still take the test or drink a lot or whatever it is. I could still take the test and not, and still train essentially like an athlete trains, but it meets me where I'm at on the day that I'm in with how I'm feeling.
Exactly. And we give enough of a warm up to, to give you a good idea of where, or you might come in feeling like, I'm feeling awesome. They're like, oh, maybe not. Just it gives you some time, or opposite. It's like, I'm just here. They're like, oh, really? I'm feeling it. I can do this. And just get energized. And I think those breaks on either side of it too, for me, I think it's important for them. And I tell them, I'm like, when you're going for this 3-minute test, I say you're going to want, need, and deserve the blue. When we're done with this test, you're going to
the recovery.
If I see people in oranges and in zones 2, 3s, 4s, right after you take a 3-minute hard test, no, that's not where you're. That's not where
you passed the test, but you didn't get a good grade, right? Okay, that's what I like. I like to say that too. I like to say everybody's going to pass the test, but are you going to be happy with your grade?
Right. Yeah.
You may not be happy with your grade if you didn't do it, right? So that is the one prerequisite, if there was one. If you were going to take a power class, you're listening to this podcast and you're like, I want to try this, show up on time. You need to show up on time. If you don't, because it is super important, the warm up, getting the body ready,
exactly,
doing those accelerations, those spin ups, there's a bunch of ways to say the same thing, but to get the body ready, to recover, and then go hard, right? So that's super, super important. We're talking a lot about metrics, and what we'll certainly, we could stay on this, but I also want to ask you, like, how do you see this playing out for somebody, not just, physically, but we also know that indoor cycling, spinning, we can't get around it. We always go back and forth. We tease each other. It's spinning. Is it spinning? Is it cycling? It's whatever. But it's also mental, right? Like there's a mental help. There is an emotional connection. There's like, how do you see, obviously that it's a physical workout, but what else does it do for the body, in your opinion?
Yeah, I was actually just telling them today, I said that was not only a physical, but a mental workout, because we weren't taking many blue breaks. So when you don't have that blue break, you're mentally having to stay in the game. And I was having them, we have the levers on the bikes, which I'm sure even if people don't have the Stages bikes, you have levers or a way to adjust the resistance. And for most of the time when we go lever left, which is take that resistance off, you're taking a break. I had them lever left and we were staying yellow, staying orange after 30 seconds in red and 30 seconds in purple for 12 minutes.
Yes.
Okay.
Ow.
Yeah.
So let's tell me that in numbers too. Attach a number to those colors, just so for those who don't know what red and purple is. What are the zone numbers? Okay.
So the zones we're from 1 to 7. So 1's the blue, 7's the white or purple in our gym.
Yeah, depending on
Yeah, right. So 3. So I would do it a 3 for a minute and a half, and then go up to a 5 for 30 seconds, but then come back down to a 4 for a minute and a half.
You're so mean.
And then go up to they did it up to a 6 for 30 seconds and back down to a 3. So usually, and again, it's just something mentally about that lever, to hear it, that lever left is like, whew, it's break. But I was having them stick in there for a minute and a half at either a 3 or a 4 and not a 1 or a 2. So I told them that was a mental, because it's those transitions, right? As I keep watching the transitions, get ready for the transition, because you're going to want to be like out, but I want you to stay in it. And they did. There was one, I did have a new person in class today who tested super hard. She was a road bike.
Okay.
Great. Super strong. And she tested high. I was watching her in the thing. She tested high. And she did say coming back to those 3s and 4s were hard. But here's the deal, Joe, and you feel this way too, I think. I'd way rather have someone have a hard time getting to a higher zone and just chilling out and on their phone and like,
right.
I'm going to, whatever, right?
Yes,
that's success to me. It's like failure is success.
Yeah.
Just saying where you're going up on those 7s and you can't hold it for 30 seconds. Good job. Awesome. Failure, success. You have to get out. You couldn't get there. That means you tested high. You're pushing yourself super hard and you're challenging yourself instead of just coming in and going through the motions, which I'll take coming in and going through the motions too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. So you just named my new t-shirt. I'm going to have a bike on the top, like a little stick bike, those little, and then it's going to say failure is success. It's going to be amazing. I love that.
Awesome.
So you're describing, what, I don't know, it might, I don't know.
Ask Christi.
Yeah. They'll be like, what do you mean by that? Let me explain. No, so what you're saying, as far as it being mental, we have that zone 4, like we talked about. That's your threshold, right? That's if you go above threshold, then you're starting to limit how long you can hang on to it because you're anaerobic. Below threshold, you're aerobic. You can hold on to it. The lower the number, the longer the sustainability, the higher number, the less. So you're basically saying it's mental because if I have to go above threshold, which is hard work, okay, hard to extremely hard, and then you're not letting me recover in zone 1, but you're asking me to go 2, 3, and sometimes back to threshold. That's a mental game. That's a mental thing that I can't reduce. I'm reducing my output, but not to a point of recovery.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's the mental. And also I think it's mentally when you're in that, I was also telling them, and I tell them this because I take classes and I feel this way too. A red's coming up, a purple's, that anxiety, that like you're getting almost scared or like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to go there, then come back here, like one step at a time. You got to just watch that mental state too. Don't get anxious. It's good to look ahead, but stay where we are. You've got this. You tested. I've been doing this long enough, if not just even but I've been doing this long enough that I feel like I know what to ask classes to do and what's not doable. So I ask for them to trust me and they can do it. But just because there's a little bit of that mental thing too. It's like, oh my God, look at the purple. Oh, here's coming. It's like, and you get all anxious and you're using this energy and you're, whoa. But then just kind of relax, one pedal stroke at a time, and then get through it, and then on to the next one, and just get through it. We'll just keep getting through it. So that's a kind of a mental game too, there too, not to get so angst up about the future and worry about kind of where we are.
Yeah, no, I love that, and again, it's a mental thing because you can't not focus if you don't fully recover. You've got to focus on that recovery place. And that's hard. One of the things that when I really started to understand power, it reminded me of when I was 16 and I was studying to get my driver's license test, right? And back then it was this book. It wasn't, I'm sure it's digital now and I don't even remember, but we had these big, books, because this was way back when dinosaurs were in.
Okay.
But so I'm reading this book and basically it's giving this illustration, like a top down version of illustration of your car on a street. Okay. And what I remember is when you're going at a slower velocity, your field of vision is pretty wide. In other words, if I'm driving down the back streets of my neighborhood, I can easily look around and see if kids are around. I'm not going fast. So my focus is, pretty, it's pretty easy for me to look around and not get in an accident.
Right.
But the faster you get, and it kind of gave this illustration where the faster you get, your field of vision kind of narrows down to where now the first time I go on 470, which is our express tollway, you really got to focus on the road because I'm going 75 miles an hour now. I don't have time to look around at the birds. And
that's a good analogy.
Right. Yeah. And so the focus intenses the faster I go. And not fast. And then, and the way that looks on a bike is not that we're always going super fast on a bike, but the intensity, the higher the intensity, the narrow the focus. And to your point earlier, when we recover, it's that then you're like, which by the way, if you take a cycling class, put your phone down, please.
Please.
Put it away.
We've been pretty good.
Yeah.
pretty good. Yeah, but that's distracting. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember there was one day and I'm a super nice guy. You know me. Because I don't get too excited, too often. But I remember going to teach a class one time and I was just in rare form. I don't know what was wrong. And I don't know what happened to me, what I ate or who said what to me for class. I have no idea. But I went and I was about to start and I did notice that particular day, there was at least 5 people, maybe more, waiting for class to start. They're looking at their phone. And I said, all right, put your phones down. And it wasn't so much that I got their attention because I usually try to get people's attention, but it was Joe said that. And Joe's the nice guy. And he never screams and barks at us in that way.
You better do it.
And it's funny because I found myself apologetic the rest of the class. I'm like, I didn't mean to anyway. But they actually appreciated, me.
I'm sure they did.
Yeah. They're like, just you help me.
Yeah. People don't even realize it. Yeah.
Yeah. They just kind of go in autopilot, right? When they look at their phones, which I love. I had a conversation with Emily Booth. She's our national cycle educator for Lifetime. Yeah. We already recorded it and she's amazing. And we talked about how we live in a world where one of the reasons why holding longer places, harder places for longer periods of time, to your point earlier, zone 4, zone 5, zone 6 is difficult, not just because you're working hard, but because I'm used to all these constant distractions in my life, right? And
if you want to do the worst thing to me ever, put me in a zone 3 or 4 for anything over 3 minutes. And I do. It's not that it's so hard, but it's just, I cannot. It's my hardest place to be. It is my hardest place to.
But not because it's the hardest thing to do.
No, because it's not hard enough. Because it's not. Yeah, because you can look at the kids around that you're not going to hit or whatever. I don't know, but it's my mind is just
Well, it's why
I tell people to tease because a lot of people in our class are bikers, right? And I'll say we have an endurance ride. They're like, what? You're going to just hold something over a minute? Yeah, exactly.
You're going to have to start letting them go longer. But thank you for reminding me that because the next time you're in my class, we're doing 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes. And but why do you think that is? I'm convinced. And again, Emily and I had talked about it. And she said it's psychological because we live in a world that is just full of distractions. And it's hard for us to just stay in one place, just stay put. It's like when your kids are young and they just keep moving and moving. You're like, stay put. Yeah. We're in church or we're, what do you think?
I just think I don't like being in my head that much.
Right.
That's one of the reasons I don't do yoga either, but which I totally think is great.
I don't know what
the distraction, it is interesting. I don't know if it's with me so much a distraction and I can't, if you do have me in the 4-minute hold in ours, okay, after 1 minute, are we going to get to put the lever in the middle and stand? And then I gotta be doing something, moving, doing something else. It's a good question, Joe, but it is, it's my torturous.
Well, and again, the question is it our culture? Is it the way we surroundings? Is it because we're so accustomed to checking our phones and there's so many, bright lights and things that distract us in the world and moving and TikToks and things that we're just constantly, where our brains aren't conditioned to be able to be with ourselves. And
that's that's my, I don't want to be in there that long.
All right. Well,
I'm thinking about things.
I'm going to challenge you to try that a little bit more. Let's talk about music. One of the things that I love about indoor cycling, which is a huge component, is the music. Yeah. And in my opinion, and you tell me where you land with all of this, and I feel like we have, pretty similar, perspectives, but just, tell me, there's a couple of different types of ways to use music. Obviously, a lot of my classes, I'll use the BPM and I'll use the drops and I'll kind of map the song to the music. Yeah. And it's kind of what we would call, thank you. It's kind of like a rhythm ride. Like we're following the beat. Absolutely. And when I say rhythm ride, I don't mean we're doing push-ups on the bike or moving it. Like that's a different type of class, which, I have another podcast. Somebody's going to be talking about that, but
awesome.
But it's using the music, to kind of, guide and lead the way, if you will.
Yes.
Empower or a power zone based class. It's really, in my opinion, it's the background of the program. In other words, in a rhythm based class, we're focused on following the music. In a power based class, we're focused on following the program. Right.
I compare it to, and I think I've told you this before, I compare it to in your classes that you beautifully do that to, that the music is your partner. It's like literally your dance partner that you're with, doing the 2-step or whatever you do. Yeah. In power, I'm getting there.
It would go really bad if I tried to.
Getting there with the country. Yeah. But with power, I think it's your friend. It's your friend. Like it's not your partner, but it's your friend. It's there to pump you up. It's there to kind of give you some chill space too. I try to incorporate it there as well when I can. But mostly to pep you up and to kind of be your cheerleader and to go and that. So yeah, your friend versus your partner is how I like to look at it with your awesome edge classes versus power.
That is so good. Your partner in a rhythm ride versus your
friend, your cheerleader.
That's really good. I'm totally gonna steal that from you.
Well, that's awesome because you don't want to play like I'm not gonna play Adele, right. I love Adele, but like chill. So it's a huge part of the class. And I was telling them today, and actually that's my creative outlet for sure is doing a playlist. I'll be on a plane ride and I'll be 5 hours later and people are like, what have you been doing? I'm in like one playlist. And I love it though. I love it. So it is a very important part of all cycling, right? It's a very important part of all cycling. But yeah, I like it. Because ours are so timed in the power too, like that it's hard to time exactly to that. Some people can do that, but yeah.
Yeah. No, and you do it great. And I like, there's another illustration that I use. It's almost like, if you were having a great conversation at a sports bar and the music was really good in the background,
Yes.
Yeah. Like you're into the conversation where you're like, man, this place is vibing, it's like sharing on the connection that you're having.
That's perfect.
Something like that.
Perfect. Yep. Yeah. Cause you notice, but it's not overbearing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because it definitely has, you need good music to your point. You still need good music, but it's just not guiding the cadence. It's not guiding, what's happening. The programming is the profile, like you like to call it. So that's beautiful. I know from teaching and I want to ask, I shared with this question with you or kind of got us warmed up in this conversation before we started. There's been so many times where somebody after class, before class, they come up to me and they say, thank you, and they say, thank you for different reasons. It could be, I needed this today. I was a little stressed out. Anywhere from that to, you helped me get through a dark season to I lost weight to I hit my personal best today. What have been some of the highlights for you as far as stories that you remember or
there's nothing better than that, right? There's just nothing. Right. There's just nothing better, and it can be a simple thing to you. It really can. Love the playlist, all that kind of good stuff. But what I think of specifically is someone who had been taking it and she ended up losing some weight, but she said that really wasn't her goal, but to have a class such as mine to be able to measure metrics and see that she was actually performing better, and to hold herself accountable that she thought she was working pretty hard before, but then like, oh, actually I wasn't. Like actually when this is that whole accountability, right? Like you can feel like you're working really, really hard, but then when you're seeing these numbers, and she was a dedicated, loyal every week, see kind of where the numbers were coming out, that I could actually push harder, and letting herself do that and not be scared of it, and kind of taking it on as a challenge. And then she was like, and it turned out that she lost weight too. She was like, it just was kind of not what I was intending on doing, but being able to push myself and knowing that I could has just been huge. And she's a company. She's a founder of her own company and hugely successful. And she told me the other day she uses our class, the power class, in her presentations about metrics, about measuring and about pushing yourself, and about holding yourself accountable. So it's cool that she had that story, and then she, as a cool entrepreneurial, wonderful woman, took it out and takes it into her business life as well. So there's that story. And then I have, as we know, the person who every single week gives me what his feedback is every time, and his output the past year is crazy, what he's done. And I literally get a feedback about an hour after my class every time about numbers that he's been able to put out, and compare them to last week, shows me what he did. And it is just, it's awesome. It's really cool to see. It's really cool to see. Yeah.
I love that. Because they get so competitive. The first person you talked about, I love, because they're taking, something they're feeling and learning, taking it into the business world, and then using it in a different way, right? And then all of these other things that are happening. Oh, by the way, I'm lighter now too. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Like to hear that.
Yeah,
and I know you're
personal journey. Yeah.
And I know who you're talking about too, because I subbed to your class once, and you know the story that's coming. And I did I think a pyramid where we would go 1 minute in zone 4, 1 minute in zone 5, 1 minute in zone 6, and then go up and then come back down. And then we did 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and came back down. We didn't go to 7 because that's, basically physiologically impossible. But we did hold zone 5 for 2 minutes, zone 6 for 2 minutes, and then back to zone 5 for 2 minutes, and then back down. And he messaged me, this guy, and he's like, I don't think that was realistic what you just made us do. And I've thought about it, and I'm still kind of up in the air about it, and honestly, with all sincerity, Christi, I did it, and I was teaching, and I'm like, what happened to him that he didn't do it that day? Because I was able to hold it, and maybe it was the adrenaline, maybe it was because when we get up on the stage, like,
oh, totally,
we have like extra energy somewhat, right?
Oh my gosh. I look at my number like, how am I even doing it? Yeah, totally. Yeah, I know Roberta. Yeah, but for sure. But there is adrenaline and stuff there, but I know what you're talking about. He'll hold you.
Which I appreciate, because he wants to make sure that he wants to give us good feedback, and he also wants to hold us accountable to what we're doing, if it's realistic, and what it meant, and all of the above. Now, you did tell him, or he approached you about getting certified, which you've inspired him, because he only takes power classes, yours and Michelle's and Christi's, and he doesn't like me. So no, just kidding. No,
power.
I know he likes power. And so he did reach out to me because I don't know if we mentioned, I've been associated with Stages for a long time, and I gave him all the information. He says he wants to get certified and start going down.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, yep. So I'm going to cheer him on, and hopefully he moves in. He's actually a medical or ER doctor. I don't know. Yeah, you probably know that, right? So this is a serious guy.
Yeah. Yeah. So look what you did. Yay.
Yeah. So I'm excited that's something that he wants to venture into. And that's another thing that we get to do as instructors, is inspire others to do what we do. And it's
yes, you've done it for me for sure. For sure. Yes.
Well, you put in the work, and they say that people who obsess over things end up being really good at it, right? And so,
okay, I'm pretty obsessed.
Well, you have people like Steve Jobs, and you have people that have invented and changed the world. You got like Elon Musk's and different people like that who obsess over electric cars, who obsess over Apple products, who obsess. And if you read their stories, like they only wear like, the same clothes same color clothes every day, things like that, because they don't want to waste time thinking about anything other than working. I'm not saying all this, right? Yeah, I know you change your clothes, Christy, but what I did, yeah. But I see you practice a lot. It's very inspiring. I'll be at the club and I'll hear music. I'm like, hey, who's messing around in the cycle studio? And then I'll walk in there, like, hey, I'm practicing. I'm like, oh, But
I love it.
That drive. What would you say? Besides the fact that you love it, like what pushes you to want to just be better, and what's in you that says I'm going to go practice? And
yeah, I think because I put pen to paper as far as the building the profile and putting together the colors, the zones, and everything, and then I put together a playlist that I really like and think is great. But I can't marry the two very well unless I'm in that room and with the controls that I'm going to have during a class with the timer and all that kind of good stuff. I don't know exactly how that's going to go. It's never exactly the same, but it gives me selfishly. So yeah, I'm practicing and everything, but it gives me the confidence to really be able to deliver that class well. Because, and it's also, again, I do we all do, but I rely a lot on the lever middle, stand up, lever right, stand up, lever left, sit, lever, so when I'm in there practicing, that's when I'm doing it as well too. Like when would be a good time? Oh, this would be a good time to stand, lever middle. Okay. Well, this would be a good time to come bring it back in the saddle. Well, this would be challenging if I did lever left through the whole thing and asked them to go all the way up. That's what I kind of use those practice sessions for.
Yeah.
And again, it's just literally, this is all fun for me. Like,
yeah,
I don't see any of it as work at all. Like even the practicing, I enjoy all of it. So yeah. So
I couldn't tell.
Steve Jobs.
No, yeah. I love it. And I think, there's a valuable lesson there that, everyone who has confidence in what they do, it comes from them feeling well prepared or them being well prepared.
Yeah.
So whether that be, a sermon, whether that be a public speech that you're going to do, teaching a class like you, if I'm not prepared, I can't be confident. Right.
Yes.
But if I locked it in and I know, and I practiced and I know what's going to happen, then I could confidently deliver what I know is going to be the best thing for them. Right.
100%. And what I love about this too is that, that energy that I would take into the class being a little like, and I'm sure it would work out, right? I mean, we can figure it out. If I didn't get a chance to practice, which I never have once, not getting a chance to practice. But if I didn't, I'm sure it would work out. But I love, and you do too, you love connecting with people in the class. And I feel like if I had that energy, 1 ounce of it going, okay, well, how is this going to go, and setting up and doing things, that I feel like I might be a little distracted. And I love being a part of this family on Monday mornings that we have at Lifetime. And I don't want to waste 1 minute of that fiddling with, I wonder if this is going to work. Is this going to work? Maybe to turn this on, do this. Like I want to have that nailed in, dialed in, done. So now I can focus on the people coming in, chit chatting. People are new. What do you think? I love that. I love that stuff. So that's what I like to focus on.
I love that. You're prepared, and it allows you to connect, right? So
like it. That's another T-shirt, maybe.
Yeah, there you go. Something like that, right? We'll have ChatGPT give us a better version of that. Yeah, but yeah, you're since and again, if you're out there, you're listening to us, you're aspiring to be an instructor or give your first speech. Doesn't matter if the more prepared you are, the more confident you're going to be, and then the better you're going to connect with the people that you're trying to reach.
Yes.
Woo, that all works together, right? That all works
100%. I like it.
Yeah. I want to go back real quick because something I just remembered something that you said that I want to touch on, because I think it's really important. There's a couple of different, there's at least 3 different ways to teach a class as far as like energy management, like how are we managing our energy? One of those would be like an RPE scale, your rate of perceived exertion. That is on a scale from 1 to 10. How am I feeling? 1 is that recovery, 10 is that all out, and everything in between. You know, the higher the number, the harder it gets. The lower the number, the easier. And then you have power zones, which we've been talking about for almost an hour, which is an actual measurement of what you're doing, right? And then you have heart rate zones, which is really heart rate zones is a response. Your heart is responding to the effort you're giving, right? So there's the 3 differences. Now, you said something earlier regarding one of the stories, you know, that the gal who said, I didn't know I can hold something for that long. It's different than just a feeling, right? And so what I want to challenge everybody who's listening to here is to try to take a power class, because if you're used to just going off of a feeling, and somebody like me is saying, hey, it should feel like a 5 out of 10, it should feel moderate, it should feel a little sticky, and you latch onto that feeling, but that feeling is only consistent if you attach it to a metric, right? Because in your mind, you think you're always there. You think I'm at a 5 the entire 3-minute song or whatever it might be, but then you attach a zone and output to that, and you're like, wait a minute. To your point earlier, to the woman who told you, this is a lot more challenging than just your rhythm ride, than just from the perspective of holding an actual metric for a longer period of time.
Yes.
What do you think?
Yes. This measured against something that you did. With that test. Yeah. It's really interesting. And I remember when I first started taking these types of classes, and I was a big shot. I've started spin back with Johnny G. I mean, I've been doing this like 30 years. So I was, I'm a pro at taking these classes. And then I will not forget taking one of those for the first time and be like, oh, my colors I'm going to be so easy to get these colors. And I was humbled. Humbled. And I was an avid indoor cyclist for 20 years before this. So when you start seeing up there what you're capable of and what you thought you were pushing yourself, it's humbling and cool all at the same time. So yeah.
And it's not to say that a rhythm ride has no value. We're not saying that.
No.
But when you're actually measuring an actual output and you got to hold it there, it's a different ride. It's why we call it power zone training. It's a different way. It's a different ride for sure.
And you can take that into your classes. You can take, you can get used to where your zones are, where you're feeling in a 5 or in a med or this, and then take it to your rhythm class, then, use that on your dials or kind of how you're feeling like, oh, wait a minute. No, I might be able to go a little bit when he's saying sticky. Oh, he means this, that I over here that I was doing. So you can kind of incorporate it once you do it for a while into every class and push yourself that way too.
Yeah, absolutely. Kim.
I do.
So therein, I know. Yeah. Well, therein lies the difference for sure of the 3. And again, we won't get into heart rate zones, but really that's a response to your body's your effort, right? And so meaning that like if I sprint for 20 seconds, from 50 yards or whatever it might be, I'll stop and my heart rate will still be high because it's responding to what I just did. Right.
Yeah.
In power zones, you're going right to that place. It's responding in the moment of the amount of pressure you're putting on the pedals. And so there's a definite difference there, which
immediate feedback. Yeah.
Yes. Immediate feedback. I like that. We're not getting feedback later. We're getting feedback right now, everybody. So buckle in. That's the way it goes. Okay, so I want to have some fun with this. I want to close up by doing what we talked about at the beginning, a lightning round. Okay.
Okay.
And so the lightning round is, or we could just say, repeat after me, right? And so I'm going to say a sentence. You're going to repeat the sentence, and I don't want a long drawn out, answer. All I want is, the one word.
I'll do my best.
From the South. Okay. Well, whatever you. Okay, whatever you want. Well, you said you don't like 1, 2, or over 4 minute. You don't like longer efforts. So maybe, well.
But I can tell you what color the sky is in 5 hours.
That's a total dad joke cycle, power zone, corny, whatever that I just said. Anyway, okay. All right. So one thing I do every morning that sets me up for success is?
One thing I do every morning that sets me up for success is meditating.
Love it.
Yes.
Love it.
Not for very long, but yes.
Okay. One book that has changed my life is?
One book that has changed my life, and it's The Joy, something about the joy. I don't remember the name of it, but it's with the Dalai Lama in YouTube. I love how coming from 2 totally different perspectives, and it just warms my heart, and I love that book. Yes.
Love it. This one's fun. One unusual daily ritual that supports my productivity every day is?
One daily ritual that unusual daily ritual that supports my activity is I got to take my dogs on a quick walk.
Yeah.
They have a doggy door that can go in and out. It doesn't matter. Walk. They don't need it. It's for me. So yeah, it's regardless of weather or anything else. Then I can get the day going and get productive. Yeah. Yes.
Well, they do say that the sun really does something for our minds to wake us up.
Absolutely.
For sure. So
yes.
That is I don't remember the gentleman's name, but anyway.
Yes, Rocco.
One of my favorite pieces of advice to give others is?
One of my favorite pieces of advice to give others is, it doesn't matter what you say to people so much, but it's how you make them feel. That's Maya Angelou, right? So it's not my advice, but it's one of my favorite things to impart on people. My kids have 19-year-old twins. It's not exactly what you do, but I guess it's in your actions and how you want people to leave you feeling. Yeah. So it's part of us teaching too, right? So how do I want someone to leave our class feeling after they were with us and after we got the privilege, right, of being with them for an hour?
Yes.
How do they feel after that? So, me shouting and yelling and doing and whatever she said or whatever you did, or it's not important. It's just how do you feel when and make some of my piece of advice would make people feel wonderful, special, everything when they leave you and they walk away from you.
Love it. Okay, one last one. I know we're already in March, but if you want to make 2024 better than 2023, make sure you
take chances. All right. Yep.
You heard it from Christi. Take chances. That's the only way you know if it's going to work or not, right?
That's right.
I love that. Right. I love that. Well, Christi, thank you so much for being.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for everything you've done for me. You're just a special place in my heart, and your support and your nagging has been fantastic. So.
Well, what did you say earlier?
I stalked you.
Your stalking was worth it, I guess. All right, we'll just say that. Okay. But thank you for it. I'll put some information. Maybe I'll put your Instagram link in the description below, and if you want to follow Christi, do that, because she's amazing. And if you're ever in the area in Colorado in South Centennial, let us know, because we would love for you to come take one of our classes. Yeah. So, all right, everybody, we'll see you on the next one.
Okay. Bye, Jeff. Thank you.